I've been on my self-love journey now for at least 10 years. At least. I'm sure somewhere along the way you've heard the importance of self-love. You need to learn to love yourself first in order to teach another person how to love you. I've narrowed down tangible steps that I have taken myself, and I feel like this is a guide for your journey to loving yourself. Hopefully this is helpful for somebody out there. Hey babes, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new. My name is Vanessa, Nessa, Sessa, Yaya, V. All of the above depending who you are. I wrote everything down in my phone, so I'm gonna be reading from my phone as well. Just evaluate your friendships around you and see how you show up in those relationships. What I mean by this is take a look at your friendships and relationships around you and figure out what strength do you lean on in order to be in those in those relationships and friendships. That could be your humor, that could be your support, that could be you're that person that everyone can count on and depend on, that judgmental friend, or you the people pleaser, whatever that is. You have to sit with yourself when it comes to this and be honest with yourself. You can also ask friends around you to see what their opinions of this is. For me, I have always been the strong friend, one who listens to everyone and advise them. The mother figure, or in my family, I'm the lawyer, for example. I had to evaluate my friendships and see this version of myself that I was showing up as, and then figure out where that stemmed from. So you want to, the point of you trying to figure this out is it's going to guide you into figuring out the root cause of you showing up this way in those friendships and in those relationships. Next step, heal that part of yourself. Ask questions to find out why do you show up as that person, that version of yourself that shows up either as the strong friend, the people pleasing, whatever strength that you hide behind when you're around important relationships in your life. You want to figure out where that stemmed from. Ask questions about your childhood and just see where that personality kicked in. Oftentimes that personality is formed either out of fear or protection of yourself. This is usually where childhood trauma lies, and oftentimes that is that part of yourself you have to heal. So where along the way did you have to be a strong person? If you are a strong person, and heal that part of yourself, forgive that part of yourself, provide empathy for her, because him or her, because that version of yourself was created to protect yourself for whatever reason. Therefore, for me, healing that part of myself came from giving her empathy and letting her know that she didn't have to show up as that version of herself anymore, because I didn't need the protection that I once needed in childhood. Therefore, once you figure out whatever that situation is, you want to heal that version of yourself. By empathizing with yourself, you create the muscle to empathize with other people. Empathy is I think is one of the greatest quality you can have as a human on this planet, because once you provide empathy to your inner self and your younger self that created that personality to protect yourself, you start to empathize with other people who either haven't yet found what their trauma is or their triggers or stuff like that. You empathize with people in the world in general, and the world needs so much empathy. We lack empathy for one another. So it starts with yourself. If you can give grace and empathy to yourself, you can also be able to extend that to others. Be gentle with yourself. Understand that life is about shared human experience. That means everybody is going through their own individual experiences. That means that no problem you're going through is unique. There's no problem you can think about that someone else hasn't battled, is battling, or has overcame it or gone through it, or maybe is stuck there. So this has always been a humbling thought for me, in just realizing that I'm not unique within my experiences, and if someone else can go through something, so can I. I know that I have the same ability for another that another person has, and you have to be gentle with yourself when it comes to this and not be so hard on yourself when you're going through hard times. This includes insecurities with your body, knowledge, judgment, whatever your insecurities are. None of these issues are unique. Once again, just remember to use that as like a grounding factor when it comes to when you're looking at your experience. You can then mirror that behavior when it comes to your loved ones and people in your life. Spend quality time with yourself. Pamper yourself. Treat yourself by loving on yourself, whatever that looks like for you. Be alone more with yourself. Learn what makes you happy when you are alone. This is an important piece when it comes to self-love. A lot of people don't know how to sit with themselves in alone time and just spend time with themselves. Sometimes people view that as boring, but that's not boring. You need to figure out why that idea of being with yourself is boring or lonely. Of course, there are certain times, and constantly being with yourself is a lonely experience. So that's not what I'm referring to. I'm not referring to constantly being isolated from people, but you should be able to spend more alone time with yourself, and in those alone time, learn what makes you happy. Learn what do you like to do, like whether it is adult coloring or reading books or watching a certain TV show. Spending time with yourself can also be taking longer showers, investing in a certain body wash that either has certain smells that make you feel pampered. When you're lotioning your body, spend time with yourself. Take time. Don't make that process be an annoying process. I know some people that don't like lotioning, so they will skip that completely. That is your alone time. So maybe not every day. I understand that life happens, but there needs to be a day out of the week that you're spending time, the extra time lotioning your body, extra time in the shower, extra time polishing your toenails if you do that yourself, your hair, getting yourself together for yourself, matching underwear sets, matching pajama sets, delicate dress. Rather than wear that just when you are going on a date, wear that for just yourself. I take pride in always looking the best for myself, because that really does pour so much into my self-esteem bucket, and therefore it pours into love. A key part of that you have to remember is when you care for something, you love that thing and you take care of that thing, you should be your number one priority. The more time you spend with yourself, the more pamper routine you have for yourself, the more you would appreciate yourself more, you will value yourself more, you will value your time more, and therefore when it comes to other people around you, you're gonna want them to treat you decent because you treat yourself decent. Why wouldn't you expect that for someone else? So just taking those extra time out of your day to put chapstick on goes a long way. To do your edges, it goes a long way. Honestly, you're pouring into your own cup. Expand your knowledge. Read books about self-love, podcasts, audiobooks, etc. This is very, very important, because the more knowledge you gain, the more confidence you gain within yourself. And these are great ways to build knowledge, whether it is reading books, audiobooks. I used to listen to tons. I haven't listened to an audiobook in a while because I've been reading more physical books, but when I was on my self-love journey, I used to listen to so many audiobooks. I'll list down below a few of my favorite audiobooks that I've listened to over the years, and it just builds your knowledge. And I'll also link down some of my favorite podcasts that I listen to, or people that I listen to that have helped me one way or another, maybe not consistently, but I've gathered information here and there from experts, from therapists. The more you dive deeper and build your understanding around human experiences, around self-love, around disciplines, boundaries, by learning these things, you become more confident within yourself. This will also allow you to become an expert on your own feelings. because you'll start to create that space for yourself. You'll start to express that more. And once you become an expert in your own human experience, it makes it easier for you to express that to other people, for you to share that with other people, and you feel confident sharing it because you've spent the time building this knowledge. So it is really, really important to expand your knowledge on just human experience overall. Reduce judgment of others. Replace judgment with empathy. It's really hard for a lot of people to put themselves in other people's shoes. That's a gift that I've been blessed with. It's very, very easy for me to put myself in other people's shoes. I never had to try hard for that, and I understand that that can be really difficult for other people to do. But whenever you find yourself judging someone else, try to change that to empathy for that person. When people make decisions for their lives, those decisions stem from somewhere along the way. Everyone have a different view of life. We can all be in the same place at the same time and have very different experience of something that occurs. Therefore, give grace to other people rather than judge the way that they're living their life. Have empathy for the way that they're living their life, and provide that to yourself as well. If you can understand why you showed up as the way you showed up in so many rooms and spaces, you should be able to understand why someone else is showing up the way they're showing up. Oftentimes we think that we are more understanding of our suffering, our shortcomings, our insecurities. Like, well, I don't care about this because I've been treated unfairly. But when it comes to someone else, we can't seem to give them the same sort of empathy. This is the ultimate journey to not taking things personal. You'll start to detach from that idea that the world revolves around you and that people are doing certain things specifically to hurt you. Everyone is just living the best they can, selfishly or unselfishly, and we just need to learn to remove ourselves from that. Next will be to create boundaries. The word of the year or the century: create boundaries, guys. Boundaries are created out of love for oneself. It stems from protecting yourself. That's what boundaries are. I don't know who said this, but boundaries, think of boundaries as a way to keep the people you love inside of your circle. So if this is your word, you create that boundary, that outer layer, to keep everyone that you love in, rather than thinking about boundaries as keeping people out. Sometimes we get so out of control with creating boundaries, especially when you newly are receiving an influx of information, when you're building your knowledge, when you're on your self-love journey. You can tend to go to the very opposite end. Then you become very extreme when you're trying to create these things. So just be mindful of that when you're on this journey to self-love. You are probably gonna be extreme at first, and then you're gonna find a sweet balance for yourself, and I think that's okay. But when we create boundaries, we're creating it out of love for ourselves. You can still have empathy for someone else and also realize that that person is not safe to be around you, or that person is not the best decision for yourself, because you do love yourself. And also, it's okay for you to be involved with someone or have a relationship with someone who is still on their journey and you're not there 100%, but you create boundaries within that friendship or within that relationship so that it isn't affecting you. Sometimes, because we don't spend so much time working on ourselves and slowing down how we process things, we don't know how to be in the presence of someone else if they're not like-minded as we are. But that's how the world is, and that's how you expand your viewpoint on human experience, is by having people around you that aren't thinking the way you think 100% of the time. It is okay. Oftentimes you have to create boundaries within your family with certain people, because their energy might throw you off, or it might be triggering to you, especially, let's say, our parents. Sometimes these are relationships that we don't have too much control over. You didn't choose your family. Oftentimes we choose our friends, we don't choose our family. So it makes it really difficult to navigate friendships, or navigate that relationship, especially when you have family members who haven't yet started their journey. And one thing my therapist did tell me is to practice boundaries within the relationship that doesn't look like obvious boundaries. So that what that looks like is limiting the amount of time you are around that person, or the amount of communication you're having with that person. So it could, and you could also provide empathy within that, in how you speak to the person. So lead with kindness. Have empathy in the background that that person went through something in their life that is causing them to act the way that they're acting, and they're not yet on their journey to bettering themselves, and that is okay. You can still hold space for them and grace for them without putting yourself in situations that you are not going to feel the happiest. So whatever that looks like, try to practice that one at a time, little steps at a time, and not overwhelm yourself. Just remember that people are going to treat you how you allow them to treat you, which is why the whole conversation of self-love is so important. As I mentioned, the more you start to pour into your cup, when someone is trying to suck up stuff out of your cup, you are more protective of that. You work really hard to pour whatever you've poured into your cup, and you're going to want to take care of that and not just allow anyone misuse that. Preventing others from just treating you how they wouldn't want to be treated should not be an option at all. That should be a non-negotiable. Use that as like a backdrop when it comes to creating boundaries for other people that you want to keep in your circle, because you don't want to lose that person. So sometimes it might need a conversation might need to be had with a person in order to put that boundary in place, or it could just be a mental boundary between you and yourself, in a way that you are going to show up in that relationship moving forward and not let it affect you so much. This can be challenging, but like I said, try to not overdo it, especially while you're learning what boundaries look like for you. What are things that might be triggering for you? When it comes to trigger, this could be a completely different conversation, but when it comes to trigger, I do believe that it is a person's individual responsibility to figure out where their trigger lies and how to handle their triggers. I do not think that the responsibility is to be put on the people on the outside that don't understand what your triggers are. That is your own journey. So if something is triggering for you, your initial reaction shouldn't be to cut that person off because they're triggering you. It should be to figure out why they are triggering you. Why is that person behavior so frustrating for you? That's where you want to go deeper. And lastly, continue to create a safe space for yourself to express your feelings, and allow empathy and honesty to be the foundation and blueprint for this. Create this space for yourself to show up how you want to show up. Journal more, write things down. Create the space for it not to be perfect. When you're out in the world and you are reacting to certain things and you're trying to be conscious of how you're reacting, be gentle with yourself. Create that space that you're not going to get it right all the time. Nobody's going to get it right all the time, and that is okay. Once again, shared human experiences. We're all trying to figure this life out. So be gentle with yourself. Draw down how you're feeling in the moment. When something is weighing on you heavily, write it down. In the moment, how you're feeling, write that down. It is a good way to go back and reflect how you were feeling in that moment and get those thoughts out. So just create that space for yourself, whatever that space look like, so that you can be able to come to yourself and express things that are bothering you. And you have to be honest also. Honesty is really important with yourself when it comes to you digging deep and figuring out what your insecurities are, how you're showing up in rooms. You have to be honest with yourself and create that non-judgmental space for yourself when you are trying to be honest and heal those parts of yourself. A few other tools that I would recommend you utilize will be journaling, meditation, reading, therapy, and learn from experts and not just friends. I can't stress this part enough, okay? Because every one of our friends are also on their journey. You should be very, very conscious of the individuals that you are getting information from. Make sure that you're gathering information and advices from people that are experts, not just anyone on the internet, including myself. I've done a lot of research. I've listened to experts when it comes to healing myself. I've read books. It's okay to have a group for a certain thing or a person for a certain thing. Like if I need a financial advice, I'm gonna go to someone who I think is an example of what I would like to implement, or someone who I know manages their money well. If I needed relationships advice, that's a tricky one, because you can still learn from other people's experiences and also make it a collaborative thing, hearing other people's experience and leaning into experts more on these type of topics than just your friends. So these are tools that I highly recommend that you guys utilize. Remember that however old you are, it took that many years for you to form the habits that you've formed, including hatred for yourself or not being patient with yourself or kind with yourself. It's taking years for those habits to build. So digging deeper little by little is going to take you years as well to reverse our way of thinking. So be patient on your journey. Don't give up if you're not seeing the results that you like to see as fast as possible. It's gradual over time. Don't forget to check the description box down below for resources that you can utilize on this journey as well. I will catch you guys when I catch you. Stay humble, stay fashionable, stay stylish, and bye guys.